Hi there. Back to the Merlin Missions. Magic Tree House number 1, Christmas in Camelot. Hope everybody had a great vacation. If you're watching this right when you get back. All right, this is chapter 7, A Good Trick. So the last thing we saw was Jack and Annie rode the white stag, trying to find the missing knights and to restore joy back and magic back into King Arthur's castle. All right, and they just found an iron gate. Chapter 7, A Good Trick. As the wind blew away more fog, Jack and Annie saw a bridge. It was made of thick wooden planks, held together with iron bands. It stretched all the way from the edge of the cliff where they were standing to the iron gate. "Come on, let's go," said Annie. "Wait," said Jack. "What about the guards?" The 2 guards in gold armor stood perfectly still. Their huge spears gleamed in the torchlight. "I don't know," said Annie. "Read the second rhyme." Jack looked in his notebook and read aloud. "For gifts you will need the first from me, then a cup, a compass, and finally a key." "The first gift is the Christmas knight's cloak," said Annie. "Yeah, I guess it's supposed to help us somehow," said Jack. He unbuttoned the cloak from around his neck. Then he held it out to get a good look at it. "Maybe it makes us invisible," said Annie. "You're nuts," said Jack. "Seriously," she said, "cloaks sometimes do that in stories." "Well, it didn't make me invisible, did it?" said Jack. "Maybe you're wearing it wrong," said Annie. "Give it to me." "Oh, brother," said Jack. But he handed the cloak to Annie. It flapped in the wind as she pulled it around her shoulders. "Can you see me?" she said. "Yes, Annie," said Jack, rolling his eyes. "I can see you." Jack looked back at the gate. Even if we get past the guards, what then, he wondered. The other world swallowed up Camelot's best knights. King Arthur said it was filled with magic and monsters. "Jack, look at me now." Jack turned to Annie. She wasn't there. "Where are you?" he said, staring at the darkness. "Cool, it works." "Where are you?" Jack said again, turning around. "Here," and Jack felt a hand touch his face. "Ah," he said, jumping back. "It's me. I'm invisible. I pulled the hood over my head. That's the trick." Ooh, Jack felt a chill run down his spine. "Oh, man," he whispered. "Watch, I'm going to take the hood off." In a flash, Annie was back. "It feels creepy to be invisible," she said. Jack was speechless. "The magic only happens when you wear the hood," said Annie. "Good trick, huh?" "Oh, yeah," said Jack. He shook his head. "This is just too weird." "Don't worry about it being weird. It's a great way to get past the guards," said Annie. "Plus, it's a way to hide in the other world. We don't know what we'll find there yet, right?" "Yeah, right," said Jack. "Okay." "Good," said Annie. "Now stand behind me and don't move." Jack put away his notebook and Annie threw the velvet cloak over his shoulders and backpack. "Great, it's big enough for the both of us," she said. She carefully arranged the folds around them. Then she pulled the huge hood over both their heads. Jack looked down. He couldn't see his body at all. He felt like he couldn't breathe. In a panic, he threw off the hood. "I don't like it," he said. "I told you it's creepy," said Annie. "But if we don't wear it, we're not going to get past the guards." "Yeah, I know. And we won't have protection in the other world," said Jack. Oh, he took a deep breath. "Okay, let's do it." Annie pulled the hood up again. "I'll hold on to the hood so it won't blow off," she said. "You just think about getting across that bridge, nothing else." "But I can't see my feet," said Jack. "You don't need to see your feet to walk," said Annie. "Come on, do it for Morgan." "Oh, yeah, right," said Jack. He and Annie stepped onto the bridge. "Whatever you do, don't look down," said Annie. As they walked across the bridge, the wind whistled around them. Jack couldn't help it. He looked down. Not only was his body missing, but the fog beneath the bridge was moving in a wild spinning whirl. Jack felt dizzy and faint, and he stopped. "Keep going," whispered Annie. Jack took a deep breath and looked straight ahead. Then he started walking again. He went slowly, step by step, towards the pale light beyond the bars of the gate. In the flickering torchlight, the guards looked like giants. As Jack and Annie slipped invisibly past them, Jack held his breath. "How will we open the gate?" he wondered. "Whoosh," said Annie loudly. Jack's heart nearly stopped. Had Annie lost her mind? "What are you doing?" he whispered. "I'm the wind," Annie whispered. "Whoosh." Annie gave the gate a shove, and it swung open as if pushed by the wind. Jack looked back and saw the guards had turned in their direction. "Quick," whispered Annie. She and Jack moved silently through the gate. "Whoosh," said Annie, and she pushed the gate back. It shut with a clang. Through the bars, Jack saw the guards face the bridge again. "Good work," he said. "Thanks," she said. Jack and Annie then turned away from the gate. "Oh," whispered Annie. "The other world," whispered Jack. Chapter 8, The Other World. The other world was completely different from the dark, cold world that Jack and Annie had just left behind. They were standing at the edge of the pale green meadow. The meadow was bathed, the meadow was bathed in a warm, rosy sunlight. 3 horses, one black, one brown, one gray, were grazing nearby. On a hillside beyond the meadow, red and purple flowers sparkled like bright buttons. "It's so nice here," said Annie. "Yeah," said Jack. "Maybe we won't need this anymore." And he pulled the hood off the cloak off their heads. He was relieved to see Annie's face and himself again. "What was that first rhyme again?" said Annie. Jack looked at his notebook and found the first rhyme. "Beyond the iron gate, the keepers of the cauldron wait." Jack looked around wearily. "I wonder where the keepers of the cauldron are," he said. "What do you mean?" said Annie. "We just sneaked past them, remember? Whoosh." Okay, so if you're not sure what a cauldron is like a giant pot that you boil stuff in. We usually think of the giant cauldrons at Halloween, the big black ones. Right, so that's what the cauldron they're talking about. "What do you mean?" "I don't know," said Jack. "The rhyme says beyond the iron gate. Those guards were standing in front of the gate. They're not behind it." "Shh, listen," said Annie. From over the hill came the faint sounds of sweet, joyful music. "Maybe the keepers of the cauldron are playing the music," said Annie. "Maybe," said Jack. He listened for a moment and smiled. The music made him feel light and happy. "Let's go meet the keepers," said Annie. "Not so fast," said Jack. "Shouldn't we be invisible again just in case?" "I guess so," said Annie, sighing. Jack pulled the hood of the cloak over their heads. Together they walked invisibly across the soft meadow. They passed the 3 horses and climbed the flower-covered hill. At the top, they looked down. "Oh, man," said Jack. The hill sloped gently down to a misty green glade, and in the middle of the glade, a band of musicians were playing flutes and pipes, drums and violins. Around the band, hundreds of dancers were dancing in a huge circle. "The keepers of the cauldron," said Annie. The dancers and musicians were smiling and laughing. They wore blue coats and green coats, white gowns and yellow gowns. They had sparkling red slippers and hats with colored feathers. The dancers looked like people, except they all had glittering gold skin and wings that shimmered in the mist like spun silver. They're beautiful, said Annie. Yeah, they are, said Jack. I don't think we need to be invisible with them, said Annie. I think you're right, said Jack. He and Annie threw off the red cloak. They left it in the dewy grass and ran down the hillside to the winged dancers. The dancers paid no attention to them. They just kept going around and around in the joyous circle. I feel like dancing with them, said Annie. Me too, said Jack. It was strange. He was usually shy about dancing. But he wanted to join this dance more than anything. He pulled off his backpack, and as he sat on the ground, he saw 3 swords lying in the grass. He didn't stop to wonder about them. The music was calling. The winged dancers broke their circle and welcomed Jack and Annie into their dance. Annie held Jack's right hand as he grasped the slender golden hand of a dancer on his left. The dancer smiled down at him. Like the others, she was as tall as a grown-up. But she didn't have any lines or wrinkles on her face. All the dancers looked very young, yet they seemed ancient at the same time. As Jack danced around in the circle, his heart leaped. His spirit soared. His glasses fell off, but he didn't care. He kept dancing. As he danced, everything in his mind became a blur. He forgot about Morgan and Camelot. He forgot about the quest for the water of memory and imagination. He forgot all his fears and worries. Jack, look, Annie cried. Jack looked at her. Hi, he shouted, laughing. No, don't look at me, she said. Look there across the circle. I can't see, he said. 3 knights, said Annie. The knights are dancing. Great, Jack shouted. No, Jack, they look terrible. They look sick. Annie yelled. She pulled away from the circle and tumbled back into the grass. Jack, she called, stop dancing. But Jack didn't want to stop. He wanted to dance to the wild music forever, forever and ever and ever. Tomorrow, Chapter 9, The Lost Knights.